Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as usual, let's just go over, man. Dude, this stock is truly something else, I must admit. Even I'm starting to get frustrated, and I'll be honest. I honestly never thought I would. I really didn't, but even I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed. But nonetheless, let's try to put all, emotions aside. Let's just try to look at this as logically as possible. And we'll try to figure out what's happening, what we can expect, etc., etc. So, as usual, if you enjoy the video, if you find them helpful, whatever, encouraging, helpful for your sanity, potentially even, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button, guys. It does help a lot. On top of that, nothing I say, as usual, is financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research. This is all just for entertainment purposes. You know the drill. Anyway, jumping into it, Tesla, once again, ending the day down a decent amount, 4.11%, putting us at, can't believe it, but actually just under $161, which is, I mean, can't say I'm like, completely surprised. I mean, I did say how my ultimate, fairly worst case scenario price target is the 150s. We pretty much went there today, actually. The lows of today were essentially at about 157-ish. Not far from the 150, really not far from this little, chunk of trading and support and everything. So, that's something to consider. We have this gap all the way at 136. Will it fill? Man, that's the question. But you can also make the argument, well, the gap all the way down here at 17 fill. I don't know. I surely hope not. Let's just say that. I don't think it will, of course. But, I mean, you never really know in this market. Maybe Tesla goes bankrupt. Who knows? But anyway, let's talk about it. Let's see what happened. What can we expect, dissect, all that stuff. So, there's not much to say other than the fact that Tesla is clearly looking not good at all. So this is where my 3-day rule begins to apply. You guys know I have that 3-day rule where essentially if a stock finally breaks out of some form of pattern of some sort of situation, it just breaks out from, something that I guess it technically shouldn't have, or I guess should have, right? To the upside or to the downside, good or bad. I do have a 3-day rule. And that 3-day rule is quite simple. Pretty much it's to try and eliminate the potential of false breakouts, because those are fairly common, right, where you have essentially a false breakout. And a perfect example is it's not, I think Microsoft was a good example of a false breakout. So you can technically have, prior to this, made the argument that the Microsoft was trading within this little bit of a range right here. Now, unfortunately, this was a lot more than a 3-day rule, but the idea is the fact that there is essentially, false breakouts, false breakdowns, and I try to apply a, potential 3-day rule to see if that is true or not, right? So essentially what that means in this case is Tesla did unfortunately break this double bottom, which is, I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely disappointing. I really didn't want this to break. It did. The volume today is substantial. Extremely high volume. We haven't seen this kind of volume since all the way back pretty much a year ago, right? Pretty much a year ago, just over a year ago. We haven't seen the volume at this magnitude, right? This is quite extreme volume on a pretty red day, which makes me wonder, excuse me, if Elon was selling. There's a decent chance Elon was selling today and yesterday, right? Because Tesla was just substantially underperforming the market. It actually was up 5%. Pre-market CPI came in actually lighter than expected, was phenomenal. The whole market rallied. To be fair, most of the market did sell off. A lot of the market sold off. You can see Apple also kind of, retesting this breakout, which is great for Apple. But it did, overall, also sell off the majority of the gains from this morning's open. Unfortunately for Tesla, not only did we sell off pretty much all those gains from the CPI prints, but we went also quite heavy into the negative territory as well. So we essentially moved from up 5% to down 4%. That's about a 9% move from peak to trough. Actually, no, technically we won't even lower if you actually want to count the very, very bottom. Down here, that's probably like 5.5%, right? So let's just say about 10% technically from the peak to the trough, which is disappointing. Now, we are essentially, once again, technically, again, retesting this green line that we still have broken out of. At this point, it just makes you wonder how valid this even is. I mean, this hardly feels like a breakout anymore, right? It did feel like a breakout initially, potential retest, and then we rally, and this felt, like a potential, start of that. But then the last 2 days with Elon potentially selling, at this point, I'm almost convinced he sold because the volume was very high, and it was just such a severe underperformance that it's just really unusual to that level, right? Which usually comes with Elon selling. Same thing that happened back all the way over here, right? And unfortunately, this isn't the first time Elon has broke what could potentially have been a bullish reversal, because this could have been a bullish reversal. Elon sold, completely collapsed. Could have been a bullish reversal. Elon again potentially sold, right? We'll find out in a few days, like by Thursday, I think. Potentially just completely broke this apart as well. So it's extremely obnoxious. I'll be completely honest. If that happens to be the case, it is extremely annoying. But sometimes it is what it is, right? But let's try to keep a cool head and discuss it. So at this point, in terms of this being a quote unquote breakout and a retest, man, it's just getting less and less likely to really believe that, because this hardly feels like a breakout, mainly because we also just simply went lower than we were back when we were still technically within this channel, right? So that's like, I'll keep it for now, but man, it's just the credibility of this quote unquote breakout is just really losing steam here. We did come down to the overall 150s level, which was overall the main like fairly bearish price target I've had. We'll see if that comes into fruition as an actual support, which I did show you guys back here. It should. This, to me, if we start losing 150s, then that will be just truly something special. But one thing to really pay attention to, again, as I've been kind of beating the drum on this as usual, is a couple things, right? The first and foremost is, of course, again, that bullish divergence is still in play, right? As the stock is still, what is going on? Is still making lower, I don't know, that was the worst arrow I've ever seen in my life. Is still making lower lows and is still essentially clearly going down, down, down. The RSI, up, 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 right? So the RSI is doing the complete opposite of what the stock is doing on a daily time frame. Now you might be wondering, man, how long is he going to beat the drum on this stupid bullish divergence, thing, right? And I understand it is frustrating to see that, this bullish divergence, which is obviously a bullish, trade, a pattern, I guess. It is frustrating to keep seeing it, quote unquote form, but then you're just kind of thinking like, man, okay, well, when is it going to actually do something, right? But you have to keep in mind that because it's happening on the daily, it does take time. It takes much longer to play out on something like the daily, and especially the weekly, and even more so, of course, on the monthly than it were to, like, let's say on the 15-minute or even the 1 hour chart. It takes much, much longer, guys, because compare how many hours are there in a day, or at least in the trading day, right? You have to keep that in mind. There's obviously quite a bit compared to just the 1 hour chart, right? There's a lot less candles on the daily, which in turn, because it's a longer time frame, takes much, much longer for something to really play out as a pattern. And in this case, bullish or bearish divergences they're like leading indicators. They kind of give you an idea as to what's to come, but especially on, again, these longer time frames, they do take time, guys. They take time to play out, unfortunately, but sometimes it just be like that, right? But nonetheless, at least the shining light is still, we are setting higher lows so far on this bullish divergence, even though the stock is quite obviously setting lower lows. Here's a low. Here's the lowest point of the RSI. We set a lower low, we went higher. We set an even lower low, still setting a higher low, right? So just keep that in mind, guys. That's something to consider, right? Take that as you will, of course. In my opinion, that's still very good news. Now, on top of that, we also have, of course, this massive volume. We did, of course, get this little bit of a balance off of, a fairly crucial area of support, which is a good thing to see, but man, we need to see if Elon is selling or not. But the thing is with this whole situation is the second, number one, either Elon says that for whatever reason he's finally done selling, confirmed 100% he's done, this thing will rocket. This thing right now, Tesla, is essentially just, there's so much built up pressure inside the stock right now that the second you let loose the valve, this thing will explode to the top. It will. I'm pretty damn confident. Like, I really truly am. I'm not trying to say that, as to like, copium, I guess, or something like that. It's just, it is what it is, right? Same thing over here. Like, you can see Tesla just completely collapse, right? Like, in just a matter of a few days, weeks, I guess you can say, right? This was how many candles? This was 19 candles, right? Tesla collapsed pretty much 40% in 19 candles, right? We can take a look at that from past and, look at the present and look back 19 candles from here, let's say, right? Where did we start 19 candles ago? So if we go from here to, 19 candles ago, actually not use that, no, that's fine, we'll use this. What's going on? What is going on? Let me try one more time. 19. Oh, this is surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be. I pressed spacebar by accident. Yeah, as you can see, maybe my mental isn't in exactly the best spot either with this whole fiesta happening. But nonetheless, 19 candles. Let's try one more time. I think this time we got it, guys. 19 candles, we will have somewhere back here. So essentially 19 candles, we have also dropped about 32%, right? But this is technically even longer because you can make the argument that in about 29 candles, we've dropped 54%. And in about 58 candles, we have dropped quite a substantial amount. Actually, I should be looking at it the other way around. Sorry, I was looking at it completely the wrong way. I was looking from bottom to up as opposed to up to down. So from 59 candles, we have dropped 50%, right? And from the 19 candles, I think that was somewhere around here, give or take, we have dropped about 30 percent, 25%, 30%. The point is the fact that it's similar to this instance here, right, where we've had, what was it, this one I believe here, this is another example. I don't know if this is one I was talking about earlier, it might have been, but the point is we've had several times before where Tesla just collapses extremely aggressively, extremely quickly, and then it just kind of explodes, right? This has happened several times before, right? This is not unusual, and in fact this time you can see, even though this happened over here, there was really not any bullish divergences or anything like that truly setting up as it is at the very moment, right? So that's another very important thing to kind of understand, right? You can kind of make the argument here where back when we were trading here, right, you can see that the stock dropped and then it went even lower, but the RSI actually went slightly higher low, right? It didn't go lower than this level, even though the stock did go lower. I think this is, I can't remember when this was exactly, but just another example, right? And then we pretty much went down to the exact same level as this candle here. And then you can see we didn't make a higher low, and then Tesla completely exploded. Now, this doesn't mean this exact thing has to happen and play out in this exact type of way, but the principle, the idea behind it, at least in my head, is similar. Will it actually happen or not, of course, is the main question, right? No one knows for sure, but that's just something to consider. There is a lot of pent up pressure being built. There's a lot of people shorting. The short demand, or the shorts on Tesla right now, have increased quite substantially. We'll see. I don't want to sound like one of those typical people that, tries to pump AMC, oh, the shorts are about to get squeezed, guys, 1 year later, oh, they're about to get squeezed. I don't want to be like one of those people, right? I really don't. But it is true. It is true. And I personally see that as something to really consider. Again, doesn't mean it has to happen. For all we know, Tesla can collapse all the way down to 120. Who knows for sure? But that's just something to consider, right? But nonetheless, taking a look at the overall chart itself, right? What we want to see ideally is tomorrow we have FOMC minutes, right? We have the Fed rate, the Fed hike decision, of course, all that stuff, which also can move the markets quite a bit depending on what Jerome Powell says, especially in the interview post the minutes and whatnot being released. That will be important. However, with all that being said and done, of course, right, ideally what we want to see is this absolutely hideous candle on the weekly regain some steam, right? The most ideal scenario, if we can somehow rally back up to 180. Will that actually happen? Man, at this rate, it feels impossible, right? That's the 10%. That's slightly more than that. That's about an 11, 12% move, which for Tesla, in one day is not impossible. It can do that in quite literally one day, right? That's the thing with the stock. It can drop 20% in one day, it can go up 20% in one day. That's just the good thing and the bad thing about the stock. So if we can essentially somehow recover up to 180 by the end of this week, by some miracle, that would be, in my opinion, insanely bullish. Will it actually happen? Of course, time will tell. But at the very least, if we can at the very least come back up above 167-ish and at least go back above that and try to at least hold that, at least it's a start. But again, what I said at the beginning of the video, 3-day rule. So we did break down under this 167 level. We did break down under it. However, as long as Tesla can recoup and get back above, essentially by the end of the week, in all honesty, the 3-day rule pretty much applies pretty much by Friday, then that's fine. Then to me, this ends up being just a massive bear trap. If we cannot, and if we, for instance, let's say on the 1 hour, come back up to these levels up here, to this 167 level, and the chart does something like this, let's just say, as an example, and let's say we come up here, and then we start getting rejected. We have a lot of issues pushing. We really just get rejected. Candles they just can't close. We just get pretty much, a lot of long upper wick candles over and over and over on like the 1 hour chart, for instance, and we just really can't close above it. That to me is going to start getting quite bearish, and that to me is going to be like, just not good, man. Really just not good. That'll be pretty bearish. I will admit that's not what you want to see. You want to see Tesla not only get back above, but you really want to see it start holding, kind of like it did over here, back up above this area once again. And if it doesn't, that is exceptionally bearish, and we really don't want to see that, right? And you want to see this ideally happen by the end of the week, guys, by the end of the week at the very latest. And that's essentially what I'll be waiting for. And if I see Tesla start coming up here and get rejected, I might have to sell calls and or enter some puts. I really, as a hedge, I really might have to do that because that to me tells me that we're really not recapturing this level, and we're most likely going to be dropping back down to probably like 150, 153, something like that. That'll almost become a certainty. So we'll see, but that's kind of what I'm seeing at the very moment, guys. I do want to say it is, wow, this video is 14 minutes long. I went off on a little bit of a tangent, I guess, but yeah, it's tough, guys. I'm hurting just as well as you guys are. If you look at Webull, you can see what percentage of the overall average of shares of people that have, of course, Tesla shares are in profit. I recommend you take a look. It's very low, let's just say that, exceptionally low. It is like most people are pretty much not in profit at the moment on average. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing, guys. Let me know what you think down below. This is brutal. We're in it together. If if this is the time you want to sell it for whatever reason, of course, again, none of this financial advice, make your own decisions, then obviously do that. I'm personally going to hold. This is something that, worst case scenario, I'll just choose to pretty much, ignore and just, wait it out. It happens, what happens, right? But the point is the fact that we're all in it together. Don't feel too, I guess, upset as hard as it is. This is just kind of part of the game, unfortunately. This is the hardest part, in my opinion, and it might get even harder, but this is where like it really gets difficult. And this is where like, the true people that are like the true investors or the true people that believe really come out and shine. And this right here, where you just want to exit, you want to sell, you want to just get out of this roller coaster, just nothing more than just getting out, right? You're done with this ride. Usually is the best time to buy. Again, take it as you will. I did sell an extra put today. I sold a 155 put for end of December. If it executes and I'm forced to buy 155, so be it. We'll see. If it goes even lower to 150s, I will sell another put for 150. And that's essentially what I'm personally doing. If it doesn't execute, fine. If it does, fine. We'll see, guys. We'll see. This is not money I personally need anytime soon, thankfully, which is why I'm perfect. I'm not too crazy upset, but it is hurting me as well now. I am starting to get pretty unhappy, to say the least. But either way, that's what I'm seeing. This video went on a lot longer than I expected. Apologies for that. Bit of a tangent, but bit of a real talk as well. So thank you all so much for watching. See you guys for the next one. Peace.